Um, Good morning, class. So today we'll have to start with the new topic, that is the bryophyta. In the previous class, we have completed algae. So what are the bryophytes? They are unique as they are also called as the amphibians of the plant kingdoms. We all know what amphibians are. The amphibians are those organisms which are capable of surviving both in the land as well as in the water condition. So that's why bryophyte are also having those kind of features, or they are found in those kind of habitats that are not completely in water and not also on the dry conditions. So they are found on damp soil. Damp soil means the soil which is found on land but it is somewhat soaked in water, so that's why they are called the amphibians. So the let's discuss the word bryophyte, where it came from. So the bryophyta, bryon means moss and the phyton means the plant. So it is a division of kingdom Plantae that comprises of the mosses, the hornworts and the liverworts. So I told you what the mosses are in the previous class. So they are a group of green plants which occupy a position between the thallophytes and the vascular cryptogams, the pteridophytes. So bacteria are lying between the algae and the pteridophytes. So algae lie below to the bryophyta. That's why algae is a little bit primitive, and the pteridophytes are of complex features and a little bit advanced. So the bryophytes is sharing some features with the algae and some features with the pteridophytes. So now we'll talk about the origin, from where the bryophyte originate. It is the two theories are given, according to the one theory, the bryophytes are said to be developed from the algae. That is, when the algae became advanced in its characteristics, so it developed into the bryophytes. That is, the algae is primitive, and when some advanced characters like algae is totally found in the water condition, that is the aquatic environment. But जब ये algae some फीचर्स इसने डेवलप किए कि जिससे ये प्लांट पे भी सर्वाइव कर पाए थोड़ा बहुत, तो इट इज़ सेड कि ब्रायोफाइट डेवलप हुए. बट दिस थ्योरी वॉज डिस्कार्डेड बाय सम साइंटिस्ट. सो सम साइंटिस्ट बिलीव दैट जो टेरिडोफाइट्स होते हैं वो जो ब्रायोफाइट से हायर होते हैं और दे शेयर सम एडवांस करेक्टरिस्टिक्स विद द ब्रायो, सो द pteridophytes become simpler, and these simpler pteridophytes are said as to be the bryophytes. So the one theory is progressive and the other one is retrogressive. So the word progressive means the advancement of something from less advanced to more advanced, and then retrogressive means the less the decrease in the advancement, that is something more advanced and it turns to be less advanced. So these are the two of the theories which describe the origin of the pteridophytes. So now we'll talk about the distribution. So where are these bryophytes found? So bryophytes are represented by 950 genera and about 24,000 species are present in the bryophytes. So they are not a very large kingdom. They are cosmopolitan in nature, like the algae. They are also found everywhere, like the land, temperate regions and the tropical regions of the world, and they are also found at an altitude. Altitude means at a height of about 4,000 to 8,000 feet. So in India, the bryophytes are quite abundant in both the Nilgiri hills and the Himalayas. They are also found in the Kullu, Manali, Shimla, Darjeeling region, Dalhousie and Garhwal region, that is mostly the hilly regions. So in the hills, they grow during the summer or rainy season. Winter is the rest period. So in the plains, the rest period is summer, whereas active growth takes place during the winter and the rainy season. So they require not much water and neither very much dry conditions. So they grow in those time, like in land they grow in another time, but in hilly areas they grow in some other time, because the conditions they need are prevalent in those different periods. They differ in the hilly region and in the dry conditions, that is the land. So now the habitat of bryophytes. So bryophytes grow densely in the moist and shady places, and they form thick carpets or mats on the damp soil. That means they grow in form of some sheets or mats, like they grow they are being lying upon some damp surface, and they continue to grow like carpets. They also found on rocks, the bark of trees, and they are mostly found during the rainy seasons. So majority of the species are terrestrial, but only a few species grow in fresh water. That is the Rixia. It is a very important species of the bryophyte, and mostly Rixia is the species that is studied if we study about bryophyte. So it is found in the fresh water. Then Rixiocarpus and others are also there, which are important species, and they are found in the aquatic environment. So now what is the body of the body is thalloid, again like the algae. It is also not differentiated into root, stem and leaves. So in the bryophytes, true roots are absent, but rhizoids are present. That is the roots that is formed of the different parts, like the root hairs and all and very much long structures that are uh, growing deep into the soil. These structures are absent in the bryophytes, but they have rhizoids. So rhizoids are a form of roots. They are primitive form of roots. When the bryophyte goes advanced and it becomes pteridophytes, then further on gymno and the angios, then the root system develops. So the rhizoids are the primitive form of roots. So rhizoids are unicellular, that is having only one cell in the case of liverworts, and in some cases like mosses it is multicellular, made up of different cells. The work of rhizoids is similar to that of the roots of higher plants. They absorb water and minerals, and they also help in the fixation of thallus to the substratum. That means कि जो thallus body होती है bryophyte की, उसको substratum means जिस चीज़ पे वो grow कर रहा है उस पे stick करने में help करते हैं ये. So now we'll talk about some general features of the bryophytes. So the plant body is gametophytic, that is having n number of nucleus, मतलब single nucleus is present, and sporophyte the condition is 2n. So plant body is gametophytic. It is independent, that is it is not dependent on the sporophyte for its survival. The gametophyte, which is the main plant body, in the case of bryophyte it is independent and dependent only upon itself for the survival. It is the dominant, and it is also autotrophic, that is it is capable of making their own food and performing photosynthesis. Either thyroid is present, containing a rootless leafy shoot. Thyroid, again it has no differentiation, that's why only a mass of cell is aggregated to form thallus. So the bryophyte is very small, and it ranges from a few millimeter to many centimeters. And which is the smallest bryophyte? The Zupus. It is said to be the smallest bryophyte, which is only 5 millimeter. And the tallest bryophyte is Dawsonia, and the size of it is 50 to 70 centimeters. And the leaves and stems that are found in the vascular plants are absent. So vascular plants are those which are having a well developed xylem and phloem, but in the bryophyte there is no presence of vascular tissues. That's why these vascular plants, these are absent in the case of bryophytes. So the leaf and stem of the bryophyte are termed as axis and phylloid respectively. That means leaf is termed to be the axis, and the stem in the case of bryophyte is termed as phylloid. So the roots are absent, and the function of roots are performed by the rhizoids. Cells are also capable to absorb moisture directly from the ground or the atmosphere. So now the rhizoids may be unicellular, unbranched, or sometimes multicellular. So the vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem, they are completely absent. Water and food material is transferred from one cell to another, and however in some bryophytes like mosses, a few cells in groups are present, that is 2 to 3 cells are present in groups, as like you can see that mosses is sharing some characters with the higher plants, that's why it is a higher bryophyte. Now it is having some 2 to 3 cells which are capable of conduction, so they are performing the work of xylem and phloem, but the true xylem and phloem, that is the vascular tissues, are absent in the bryophytes. So now we'll talk about the different parts of a bryophyte. You can see the rhizoids are present. These are the different external features of Rixia. First one, this is a Rixia, which is a bryophyte, and it is most extensively studied when we study any bryophyte. Then this is the thallus of Rixia. But if we cut the cross section, we'll see the thallus. It looks like this. What are these? These are Gema cups. You can see these are the Gema cups in there. What is the function of Gema cups? Mostly it is used in the case of vegetative propagation. Then this is Markensia. Markensia is also having Zima cups, and the this is the Anthoceros. So this is another kind of bryophyte. The male and female parts are called as Antheridium and Archegonium respectively. We'll study that later. First we'll talk about the rhizoids in little detail and the scales. What is the function of scales? Scales are also present in the bryophytes. So rhizoids are as roots are absent, the rhizoids perform the function of anchorage. Anchorage means the persistent fixing of the bryophyte to the ground. This function is done by the rhizoids, and in the case of higher plants it is done by the roots, and absorption is also done by these rhizoids. And in the thalloid forms, rhizoids are born on the ventral surface. Ventral means at the back there's the presence of rhizoids in the thalloid forms. In aquatic bryophytes like Rixia, rhizoids are absent. In the Rixia you can see there is no presence of the rhizoids. Now what are scales? The scales are present only in the members of order Markensia. So the classification of gymnosperm is done by many scientists, and in that classification one order is Markensiales, and the main species of that order Markensiales is Markensia. That's why the name has been given the order Markensiales. So in the members of Markensiales only the scales are present, but they are not present in all bryophytes. So the scales are multicellular, they are violet colored and single cell thick. The color violet color is due to the presence of the pigment anthocyanin. So scales also develop on the ventral side of the thallus. They may be arranged in rows or two rows which are present on either side of the midrib. This is the midrib. This forms the midrib, and at these sides there can be the presence of scales. In Rixia the scales are ligulate, while in the Markensia the scales are of two types, ligulate and appendiculate. So in the case of appendiculate, the scales are divided by a narrow constriction. Constriction means a nick is present which divides the scales into two parts. So what is the function of scales? Scales protect the growing point by covering their delicate cells and secreting slime to keep them moist. So the scales are absent in some aquatic members of order Markensiales also. Now we'll talk about the male and female. As I told you, the body is thalloid and all. That's we have done this, the Antheridium and the Archegonia, that is the male and female. Now we'll discuss that. So the Archisporium in bryophytes. The Archisporium is the first cell generation of the sporogenous tissue. So when the gametophyte performs, two gametophytes fuses together and forms a zygote, it forms the archisporium, which is said to be the first cell of sporophyte, that is 2n condition. It divides and redivides to form a mass of cells. That means it keeps on dividing till a mass of cells is not found, and this solid tissue is called as the sporogenous tissue. The cells of the last cell generation of solid tissue separate from each other, and then when the separation of this solid mass is done, the cell now is called as the spore mother cell. The origin, position and fate of the archisporium varies in different members of the bryophytes. We'll talk about the reproduction now. This is the complete life cycle of bryophyta that shows that how one generation is changed to another, that is gametophyte is converted to sporophyte and again to gametophyte. That is called as the alternation of generation, that is n condition changing to 2n and again 2n changing to the n condition. Now first we'll discuss the vegetative propagation and then we'll come to the sexual reproduction, as only two types of reproduction are found in the bryophyte, the vegetative and the sexual. So what are the different types of vegetative? The bryophyte possess a characteristic feature, and that is they have tendency towards extensive vegetative reproduction. That is, the bryophytes are more tilted towards performing vegetative reproduction. The vegetative reproduction takes place in the favorable season for vegetative growth. So the majority of the bryophyte propagate vegetatively, and it is brought about in many ways. So what are the ways by which the reproduction is carried out? First of all, by the death and decay of the older portion of the thallus, or by fragmentation. That means if a portion of the thallus which is dead or it gets decayed, then it separates, and when it absorb the nutrition and gets favorable condition, it starts to form a new thallus, and that's why it is a type of vegetative propagation. Now by fragmentation also, like in other lower plants we have studied, in algae also fragmentation takes place when a body is divided, a thallus is divided into many parts, and each part starts to form a new bryophyte or whatever the species we're talking about. If we're talking about algae, the fragmentation of one algae will give rise to many algae. Same in the case of bryophytes, fragmentation of one bryophyte gives rise to many bryophytes. Then by the tubers are formed in those species which are exposed to desiccation. What is desiccation? The drying effect of the air. So if the air is very much in the summers, you can see there is very much less moisture or no moisture in the air, and that's why this leads to desiccation as the water from the bryophyte thallus will be lost. So the tubers will be formed, and these tubers remain dormant, and they keep on absorbing some nutrients, so that when they receive the appropriate environment for their propagation, they have sufficient nutrient for their purpose. So they get surrounded by a starch or albuminous layer that is made up of oil, and that oil layer protects them from the various conditions that are unfavorable for them. So Rixia and Anthoceros are a type of bryophytes that divides or propagates by this method. Then the gyma, I told you the gyma cups are present in the thallus itself of the bryophytes. So there's gyma cups are green, they are multicellular and reproductive bodies, and they can be of various shapes. These are produced on the surfaces of the leaves or on the stem apex or even inside the cells. So they get detached from the parent cell, and when they get detached from the parent cell, they fall on some substratum that is which helps the bryophyte to grow, and then they start to function as a new bryophyte themselves. Now we'll talk about the sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction is highly oogamous. So what is oogamous? In the oogamous, the male and female gametes are very much distinctive. That is, you can see by noticing with your naked eyes that yes, this is the male and this is the female. So the characters are very much distinct, and the fusion occurs, that is the male and female nuclei fuses together and forms a zygote. So the male and female sex organs are known as antheridia and archegonia respectively. That is, the male sex organ is antheridia and the female sex organ is archegonia. The sex organs are jacketed and multilayered. Jacketed means they have a presence of sterile jacket, and this jacket is helping them to protect from any kind of unwanted enemy, whatever is trying to cause any harm to the bryophyte, and they are multi-layered, that is having many layers. So antheridium, the male sex organ is stalked, that is having a stalk below it, and it is mostly of pear shaped, and it is also having a thick jacket, and inside this thick jacket is the presence of fertile cells, that these cells are called as endocytes. So each endocyte metamorphoses into biflagellate antherozoid. So antheridium is the sex organ. It contains in itself the endocyte cell, and that endocyte cell is capable of performing metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means changing from one form to another. It could be progressive or retrogressive. Progressive means it could turn into an advanced form, and retrogressive means it could turn into an more primitive form. So the endocyte, which is present inside the antheridium, it metamorphoses into biflagellate antherozoid, and these antherozoid are the main reproductive organs that help in the fusion of to the female gamete. Now we'll talk about the archegonium, which is the female sex organ. It is also stalked, and it is mostly flask shaped in structure. It is having a swollen base, that is, the base is swollen. This is the swollen base, a little bit larger, and then it is having basically three parts. The basal swollen portion, it is called the venter, and it is having an elongated neck. So this is the neck and this is venter. The neck is filled with many neck canal cells, whereas venter has a large egg nucleus. The egg nucleus is present here in the venter, and it is having many neck cells. So now the neck cell is filled. The neck cell is mainly for the purpose of providing nutrition to the growing egg cell. So archegonium is now archegonium is explained, and antherozoids are formed inside the antheridium, that is the main male sex organ. Now what happens? The antherozoids, they get attracted towards the neck. Now the antherozoids are produced, they get attracted towards the neck. This is the neck. Now from here they get attracted and get absorbed chemotatically. Now chemotatically means there are secretion of some chemicals, like for example there may be some sugars or some proteins or inorganic salts that are helpful in the attraction of the male antherozoids towards the female, and through the venter this antherozoid reaches the egg, and then the fusion occurs, and therefore the N stage of the male plus the N stage of the female combines to form the sporophyte, that is the 2N, and this is how the life cycle goes on. Then once the 2N is formed, the meiosis occurs, and again the 2N form. Meiosis is the reduction division, it changes the 2N form to the N stage, and then again all that structures are again formed, like the male and female get separated, one forms into the male and other. This is the sign for male gamete, and this is the sign for female gamete, and now they again male form the antherozoid, female forms neck and venter, fertilization occur. This is the fertilization, then 2N forms gametophyte, and so on, the cycle goes on. This is how the reproduction occurs. There are some economic importance also, so you can read this. Some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals and birds and other animals also. So the species of sphagnum is also a type of bryophyte. It is a moss, and it provides peat that have long been used as a fuel. So some bryophytes are also useful in providing fuel, and because of their capacity to hold water as packing material for transport shipment of the living material. So mosses also helps in prevention of the soil erosion. What is soil erosion? The carrying away of the topmost layer of the soil by the rain. So that's why when these thallus forms are present on the surfaces of soil, they help in not getting that topsoil erodes away or getting flow with the rain. That's why they helps in preventing the soil erosion. So this is, now we'll complete the bryophytes. In the next class we'll start with the pteridophytes.